There you go.
Good morning. This morning, I am your host, Lind Schell, along with Linda R. Wright. Writers on the Air is dedicated to all writers and genres. Until COVID, we met Sunday afternoon at Common Grounds Meeting Hall next door to WKDW 97.5 FM radio in the warm Mineral Springs Shopping Plaza in Northport. WKDW is the home of real community radio and is on the air through the efforts of volunteers at WKDW and the sponsors for our various shows. One example is Open Mic, which airs on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Bud Buckley invites songwriters and singers to perform. Please contact Bud if you would like to join his jam sessions that right now are COVID-19 friendly. Our radio address is 12737 Tamiami Trail, Northport, and that zip is 34287. Our station number is 941-564-8739. 941-564-8739. And we will begin our show by welcoming Mary T. Wagner. There she is. Mary is a retired prosecuting attorney, and she's written some delightful middle grade stories. And she's also written some adult stories like Heck on Heels. You can find her on Amazon. And she's going to read to us today an essay. She won the first place in the Royal Palm Literary Awards. That's the Silver Award. And what she's going to read is The Werewolves Queen. Thank you, Mary. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you again for having me on the show. One little piece of record keeping. Actually, the Silver Award was second place. I would have loved to have first place, and that would be gold. But Silver was pretty darn big accomplishment, and I don't want to take gold away from the other person who got it. So yes, my essay is called The Werewolves Queen, and I wrote it about my dog, Lucky. The young man at my front door with a clipboard and a name tag from a cable TV company rang the doorbell and then stepped back from the front stoop. From within came the sound of ferocious barking, and I struggled to squeeze between the edge of the recliner and the bristling black hackles of my dog, Lucky, to get outside and slam the door behind me. The barking continued unabated, despite my repeated admonitions to the door that all was well. "What kind of a dog have you got?" the young man asked, respectfully cautious. "Werewolf," I deadpanned. His eyes widened. "Really?" Sometimes I just can't help myself. Although Lucky does put on one heck of a show. The werewolf at my house will be 10 years old this summer. In dog years, that's somewhere around 70, and there are a few more gray whiskers on his chin than in his salad days. But other than the grays, there is no sign of him stepping down from his self-appointed duties. I brought Lucky home as a puppy to my spacious house in the country. My youngest son, who had begged me to get a puppy instead of an older dog, went back to college the next day. I was home alone with the new puppy from then on, an experience like being a single mother of an infant with no partner or a larger support system. Housebreaking was mercifully quick, and the relationship we forged over time put me at the epicenter of Lucky's universe as leader and pack and flock. Part border collie, part who knows what, Lucky came with centuries of breeding telling him to protect his herd at all costs. He was certainly built for the task, with a deep chest and long legs and an intelligent face that includes golden brown eyes accomplished at the border collie stare. He is shaped like a medium-sized wolf and has the size and stamina of one, too. Coal black, except for a white slash down his chest and white tiptoes, he is like reverse lightning when he moves, darkly explosive and turbocharged. He does not make friends easily, but neither does he miss a thing going on around him. He likes to cuddle, too, all 70 pounds of him, and tries to be a lapdog as often as he can. His sharp elbows, as he army crawls his way a few inches further into my lap, can be deadly. Like a knight of yore, Lucky has 3 imperatives that guide him every waking moment: defend the realm, guard the castle, protect the queen. When I first brought him home, I had a pretty good-sized realm by any measure. The house where I had lived for 3 decades and raised my 4 children sat on nearly 15 country acres of bucolic woods and fields. The house was surrounded on all sides by flower gardens, bursting with roses and coneflowers, peonies and butterfly bushes, snapdragons and phlox and coral bells. And here we are at the 3-minute mark. Shall I step aside?
Keep going. We're hanging on here. Keep going.
Great.
Let me.
Set back behind a line of trees and nearly a city block removed from the 2-lane road that provided the street address, it was the perfect place for a high-energy dog to spend his days romping outdoors. He divided his time between walking the land with me, chasing deer and wild turkeys, and feasting on the occasional rabbit. Also, doing the perimeter rounds. Yes, Lucky was very fast as well. Visitors at the front door, other than my boyfriend and occasionally my grown children stopping in, were scarce. Mail was dropped off in a mailbox where the driveway met the road. Trash pickup and newspaper delivery were accomplished there as well, with the exception of having to bark at the occasional evangelizer who drove up to deliver religious pamphlets. Lucky's guard duties were fairly light. Life is never static, however, and things changed up a lot when we moved several years later to the Midwestern city where I worked. While I had originally planned to buy a house of my own, staking out a new realm and castle, and cheerfully planting more roses and coreopsis and delphiniums, the clock was working against me, and so I played the cards I was dealt. We rented a small side-by-side duplex. The duplex was in a quiet neighborhood with friendly folks and quiet streets and had a large yard that wraps around 3 sides. The yard was unfenced, which meant that Lucky would have to adjust to life on a leash, and I would have to walk him several times a day to answer nature's calls and to get both of us some exercise. Although it was a struggle at first, Lucky has recalibrated his duties and his horizons accordingly. While he has learned to remain calm, mostly in the face of every squirrel and rabbit that crosses our path, he still senses that threats to safety and good order are legion. He views the mail carrier who parks his truck nearby and dares to approach the mailbox mounted by the front door as a centurion might have eyed the Visigoths as they marched on Rome. UPS delivery trucks with their cumbersome and uniform brown shapes are similarly suspect and cause him to raise hackles and growl when he sees them lumber down the street 2 blocks away. And woe betide the FedEx driver who rings the doorbell before dropping off a package. Lucky is always on the job. My realm, alas, has been vastly reduced. Where I once had big skies and fiery sunsets and tall grasses tossing and fluttering like silk in the wind, I have a corner lot with an abundance of violets and dandelions. Where I had flower gardens full of radiant colors, I have a small boxwood hedge and 4 flower pots on the stoop holding geraniums in summer. My living space has been cut by 1/3, and there is no central air. I am still selling off excess furniture. And yet I have Lucky at my side, or prancing a few steps ahead. He has mastered the difficult transition, redefined and embraced his new guard duties in the urban jungle, and keeps a vigilant eye on me at all times. And as we step through the door for one of our innumerable walks, and I scan the horizon for any dogs, cats, squirrels, rabbits, and small children that he might perceive as a threat, I am reminded that in Lucky's golden brown eyes, I still have a realm in need of defending. I still have a castle that needs guarding. And yes, with my erstwhile werewolf companion and protector beside me, I am indeed still a queen.
Oh, what a good ending. Linda and I really enjoy your descriptive abilities. You're really a good writer.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. No, that was just so good. We didn't want to stop you. So I hope you've got some more so we can come back later.
I actually do.
Oh, good. Okay. I'm going to read one from Dobie Pasco, who can't be with us today. It's entitled Tears on the Inside. Tears on the inside, maybe it doesn't matter, the one crying knows, from where or whence they came, and most importantly, why. But let them go when it is time. You have more time to fill your days and nights with smiles and laughter, simply grinning on both the inside and the outside. And the next one is from Isolde Hunter. We call her Izzy, and it's entitled The Drummer. Swish go brushes, soft syncopation, hushed anticipation, gaining momentum, catching the ear, tapping the foot, suddenly, a symphony's crashing cacophony. Full volume, flooding forcefully into splendor, cymbals and sticks beat wildness. Raw flashes driving, accentuating, elevating, pulsating peaks exploding till slowly, 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 crescendo subsides, melting down into a trickle, magic evaporates, swoosh, softly echoes drummers' heartbeats. Thank you, Isolde. And this is one of her many poems from A People's Potpourri, which you can find on Amazon. And the next one is from Sheila Calhoun, our Scottish friend, and it's entitled Alone in the Woods. It was the sweetest day when there on the grass I lay, beside the bluebells, light, like the god of love, filtered from trees above, to fill my heart with love, and softly to wonder, is it only moments like these, playing in memory's breeze, that makes our hearts have ease and spirits to soar? To you, O God above, I plead the answers. Thank you very much, Sheila. And this one is from John Perlow. He is a professor of English at the Florida Southwest State College, and it's entitled Learning to Float. In the morning, the waters off the shore of Nokomis Beach are as smooth and calm as the small pond behind an uncle's house. By 8 a.m., my father and I spy the sand, looking for the best spot to enter. Following the prints of birds with stick feet, we wade into a warm apron of cool springs. The minute roll of her tourmaline shoulders gently inverts human legs. When waist deep, it is time to begin. Tell me to learn and lift my feet to the sky, to learn to trust his hand at the base of my back, and lay my head in the folds of her lap. It's the salt that makes us float, his body a white nebula with green bathing suit, suspended in space. The pressure of salt filling my ears, the cushion of water enfolding. Floating is like flying in dreams, our bodies dissolving as salt in the blue, heavy loam joining the sand. We are dinosaurs no longer. We are men with wings. Thank you, John. Now, I'm going to revisit the blurb on the back of my book. This is the very first book that I ever wrote. It's a middle grade fantasy adventure story about a dwarf kangaroo who wants to go to St. Petersburg, Russia, of all things. It's entitled Come Along With Me. Come Along With Me will transport 8 to 12-year-old children, their parents, and their grandparents to another world when they read Come Along With Me, an adventure about friendship and caring, the unfortunate consequences of jealousy, and the power of hope. Meet Gracie, a ditzy dwarf kangaroo from the 36th universe, a creature who lives in a perfect realm. Because she is bored, Gracie longs for an adventure to St. Petersburg, Russia, a place she imagines is filled with beauty and enchantment. Much to the tiny Rue's surprise, her ability to transport herself to the land of the czars has failed. She ends up at a dairy farm in St. Clair, Pennsylvania, where she saves the life of Gibson, an abandoned Maine Coon cat. The unlikely pair become fast friends. While Gracie tries to find her way back home, Gibson carves a life for himself on a farm with his newly adopted mistress, the farmer's young daughter. There's one hitch. The overworked farmer demands that Gibson earn his keep. Gibson's task is thwarted somewhat when he experiences strange visions. But are these visions the result of a thrashing he received from the farmer's dogs? Or maybe Gibson sees parallel universes. As outsiders, the little kangaroo and the cat from the city negotiate the perils of farm life. They meet two malicious rats who hate anyone who is happy. The two devoted friends must contend with stampeding cows and a barnyard of critters that have little use for newcomers. Will Gibson keep his sanity and become the little girl's pet? Will Gracie ever see the splendor of the Russian Versailles? Will the farmer survive the evil machinations of the rats Bratwold and Eastman? Drift back to the days of Barbie dolls, hula hoops, and Sputnik to find out. Okay, that book is available on Amazon. And the next one I'm going to read from Alan, our airline pilot. It's called A Woman's Time. At one time, there was a peace when men were tame and left alone, and bodies quelled testosterone. With weapons stored, the fight may cease. But warring lords would rise again, their wicked quest for power and greed. The surging masses they mislead, bring misery and shameless pain. Mankind has followed his cruel command. Time and again his course has failed. Love and calm has not prevailed. So leave it to a woman's hand. That's right, Alan. When all else fails, call on the ladies. Okay. Mary, do you have anything for us?
Well, let me get on my little reading glasses first.
Okay.
I'm going to read an essay that originally was on one of my blogs, and then I put it in this book. It's called When the Shoe Fits, Essays of Love, Life, and Second Chances. And the essay is called Of Shoes and Strategy. This takes me back to when I was a prosecuting attorney. I had gone to law school when I was 40 and started at the DA's office about, I think, the age of 44 or 45, and discovered high heels for the first time when I was 48. And then they rapidly became just a part of it, what I wore into court all the time and kind of a trademark. So here's my tribute to shoes.
Okay. And I love shoes.
Don't we all? They were death on a staircase shoes, and they stopped me dead in my tracks. Sleek leopard print brocade with pointy toes, squared off vamps, delicate slingbacks, and spike heels that added a good 3.5 inches to my height. These were definitely trophy shoes. I tried them on, but the questions I purportedly be seriously asking myself as I strode back and forth in the shoe department, glancing at the mirror from various angles. Could I really wear them into a courtroom? What suit and accessories would they possibly go with? If I didn't think I'd wear them to work, where on earth would I ever wear them? Were as ritualized and formulaic as kabuki theater? Of course I was going to buy them. It was a foregone conclusion. They were gorgeous and sexy, and the fact I had no place in particular to wear them yet had not deterred me from buying any of their predecessors now sitting in my closet. My working theory that the occasion would follow the shoes was still working just fine. Thank you very much. It's a variation on the movie Field of Dreams. The shoes came home with me. I bought my first set of stilettos, not when I was a lithe and lissom young 20-something, but when I was, oh, never mind. The fresh-faced and skinny days as a journalism student in college had been lived quite naturally in jeans and sneakers. Marriage and motherhood followed closely on the heels of my graduation and brand new career as a newspaper reporter. And as every mother knows, rounding up energetic toddlers is a lot like herding cats. You have the best chance of success when you're in running shoes. Even law school and then the job as a prosecutor didn't reverse the tide. I had already gotten too used to comfort in the interval, conducting transatlantic phone interviews as a freelance writer in my shorts and bare feet, and occasionally my pajamas. Taking the kids to the beach in flip-flops, racing through the grocery store, and leading brownie troops through adventures in the woods in scuffed Reeboks. Sensible shoes did just fine. The turning point came, as they usually do, during a time of high stress. One of my children had a mysterious health crisis, and I was killing time between driving her around campus by reading cases in an overstuffed chair by the fireside at a Starbucks. Ever the multitasker, I was looking up drunk driving law for an upcoming argument in court when I had one of those eureka moments that Archimedes made famous. Unlike Archimedes, I did not then get up and run naked and wet down the street. I went shoe shopping. For the record, I was actually looking for some sensible brown shoes, but for some whimsical reason, I decided to try on a drop-dead dangerous pair of faux brown alligator slingbacks with 3-inch spike heels. I was timid, and I asked the salesperson to put them on hold. I picked my daughter up from class and brought her back to the mall with me. It took her about 5 seconds to size me up as I teetered in the shoes, and then she delivered a verdict. Mom, those are really cute. You should buy them. She'd been voted best dressed 2 or 3 times in her high school. Who was I to argue? The alligator spikes came home with me, and I wore them to work the next day. Another male attorney took one look at them, laughed self-consciously, and said, "My God, Mary, those are the sexiest shoes I've ever seen." It was one of those light bulb moments, and I immediately realized that I was onto something. Excuse me. Spike heels get a bum rap from a lot of quarters. They have been likened to Chinese foot binding. They have been branded a male conspiracy to keep us helpless and off balance, described as something that channels the pain of the wearer into the suffering and domination of someone else. An article in National Geographic magazine, Every Shoe Tells a Story, quoted British photographer David Bailey as having a fondness for high heels because it means girls can't run away from me. If that's what Mr. Bailey really said, I don't think he was grasping the whole picture. Doesn't anyone remember when Jennifer Jason Leigh's character did to Bridget Fonda's boyfriend with a stiletto heel in the movie Single White Female? Spoiler alert, he died. Or the way Rachel McAdams slowed down a terrorist toward the end of the thriller Red Eye. I laughed when I watched her sink her slingback stiletto into Cillian Murphy's thigh, thinking, I have the same shoes. And we've all seen what Jack Bauer is capable of doing with his bare hands week after week in 24. Just imagine what he could do armed with a pair of Manolo Blahniks. Well, maybe we don't really want to go there. I like to break down some of my own fondness for limousine shoes as an exercise in courtroom strategy, since nearly every pair I bring home in a shopping bag finds its way into court with me at some point. First, there's the height advantage, which is always a good thing in an authority figure. At 5'10" in heels, I am easy to spot in a crowd. Then, of course, there's that delightfully authoritative snap of spike heels on a marble floor, an audible warning that indeed trouble is just around the corner and closing fast. A cop I worked with almost every day for years said he could tell when I was approaching a particular courtroom from behind closed doors just by the rapping of my footsteps in the corridor beyond. And last, aside from the whole armed and dangerous aspect of wearing something that could literally put someone's eye out, is what I call the mother-in-law advantage. It is hard to really pinpoint this, except to say that on some level, if a defendant's mother or sister or aunt suddenly stops our group problem-solving discussion to tell me that I've got great shoes, I've gained something. I'm not sure exactly what that is, but it's still something that none of my male colleagues in wingtips or Oxfords will experience a glimpse of. So this brings me to one of my favorite stories about just why I keep wearing these death-defying shoes to court and waiting for the single aging elevator instead of risking my life on the stairs. One afternoon, some time ago in criminal traffic court, this involves the traffic violations that can actually put you in jail, was about to start. The defendants' names are usually called in alphabetical order, but sometimes they are called in whatever order a judge feels like, just to keep things interesting. A middle-aged woman came up to me and asked if I could do her a favor by getting her case called early on. Her husband had cancer, she explained, and he was home alone. She needed to get back soon to help him with his medications. Was there anything I could possibly do? She was nervous and clearly out of her element in this courtroom, not one of our more regular customers who take their repeat appearances in stride, the not guilty plea as reflexive as breathing. I remember I was wearing a pair of show-stopping plaid stilettos that day with tiny black patent bows, and I absolutely towered over her in them. She barely came up to my chin. I assured her that I would do what I could and passed word in advance to the judge that this particular woman could really use a break. We got her in and out of there in a hurry, and she was gracious and effusive in her thanks to all for letting her be on her way quickly under such difficult circumstances. As she was leaving, she passed me where I sat in the prosecution table and smiled. Then she caught herself in mid-stride and turned toward me. In front of a room full of defendants, attorneys, courtroom staff, and the judge, she breached courtroom decorum, order, and dignified routine, stopped, and announced, "Oh, and I love your shoes."
Okay, I'm going to have to
rest
right there. Okay, thank you so much, Mary. If we do have time, we'll let you finish. We are in the
that was the end of it, actually.
We are in the second half of our show. I am Linda Wright. Thank you for listening to our show at WKDW 97.5 FM. We're always looking for sponsors for our shows as well as volunteers, because we are a nonprofit organization. We have a 501c3 status. If you would like to sponsor a show or volunteer, please call 941-564-8739 or email to info@kdwradio.com. I'm going to start my half with a poem from our wonderful station manager, RJ Malloy. And I'm going to start with a poem called Canyons of Books. Among the stacks, these endless rows of books, as I walk past them, leather spines call out to me, voices from behind the pale, names I do not know, beckoning me, trying to catch my eye as I pass. Listen to me. I have something to say. Listen to me. I have something you need to know. Across the graves, across the great expanse of human time, they speak. Listen to me. I have something to say. Listen to me. I have something you need to know. Open one at random, and the canyon is bridged. The wall is breached. The veil is now parted. And for a while, I sit with the ghost who has residence within these pages as being I have never known, yet fully familiar, who speaks to me about what was once the passion of a life long since lived. And for a while, there is no time. Gently and gratefully, I close the book and return it to its place on the rack outside on the street. I stuff my hands in my coat pockets and brace against the cold. And for a moment, I stand and wonder, just what is it that I have to say? Ooh, that was really good, RJ. That was really, really good. And one of these days, we are going to be able to go back to our Common Grounds radio station. We don't know when yet. And I also want to start reading something from our own dear Emma Fikes Alberts. She is our other co-host when we're on the show, and she has her own little show on Sunday afternoons, and she hasn't really been able to do it too much because she's been having problems with her mouth again, and she just had a procedure done yesterday. And I talked to her husband, and so far she's making out pretty good. So thanks, Emma. This is for you, sweetheart. This is called The Ultimate Seduction, and this is from her book, A Borrowed Moment. In the spring of 1947, I was 13 years old and anticipating my graduation from J. Cook Junior High School in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I was much younger than my classmates because I had skipped both kindergarten and second grade. At the time, my parents and teachers were dazzled by my ability to read and to compose stories and poetry. My third grade teacher, Mrs. Spector, was the only person who noticed that I couldn't do even the simplest math. Miss Spector treated me as though I had no right to live. She screamed math problems in my face as if the mere loudness of her voice would penetrate my brain. It didn't. My English skills brought me along academically, but emotionally, I was nowhere near my classmates. The girls wore lipstick and dyed their hair. They also wore bras, none of which I was allowed to do because I was too young and, of course, too underdeveloped.
I felt the rebelling in school helped me to fit in with the popular girls. The more I got sent to the principal's office, the more they liked me. One morning before class, one of the girls lit up a cigarette in the girls' room and passed it around. I watched in amazement as each girl took the cigarette, inhaled the smoke into her lungs, then simultaneously blew the smoke out through her nose and mouth. Suddenly, the cigarette was in my hand. I knew I had to smoke it. It was the moment of belonging. As I placed it to my lips, I heard someone say, "Don't lip it." That meant don't get the end of the cigarette all wet. I was familiar with the ritual of smoking because my father smoked, as did most of the adults I came in contact with. Not knowing how to inhale, I drew the smoke into my mouth and blew it right back out. This made the girl who owned the cigarette upset. "Don't waste that. It cost me a penny," she yelled. Judy Kaufman spoke up for me. "Let her try again. Nobody gets it right the first time." Reluctantly, they gave me the chance to redeem myself. This time I got the smoke in my mouth and just breathed it in. This caused a great deal of pain in my throat and lungs. My eyes felt as though they were burst from my head. I knew I was going to die in that girl's room as I sank, gagging, to the floor. Even Judy was disgusted as they left me behind and went on to class. I spent the next 3 weeks smoking and inhaling cigarettes at every opportunity. I stole cigarettes from my father, a man whose wrath I feared most in the world. I hid in alleyways and smoked whenever I was sent to the store or in the morning on the way to school. Nothing would stand in the way of my conquering the art of inhaling. After much choking, dizziness, and throwing up, my chance for redemption finally arrived. I walked into the girls' room on a Monday morning. The whole crowd was there getting ready for the morning smoke. I pulled one of my father's Raleigh cigarettes out of my purse and lit up. All eyes were on me as I drew hard on the cigarette and pulled the smoke deeply into my lungs. I held it in as long as I could before letting it pour through my nose and mouth. A cheer went up from my buddies, and after receiving hugs and pats on the back, we went to class. I'll never forget that moment because for the next 34 years, I was a slave to brown crap wrapped in virgin white paper. At the age of 47, I accomplished an even greater achievement. I quit smoking. Now, after 17 smoke-free years, a thought crosses my mind. I wonder if Judy Kaufman still smokes. Oh, that was wonderful, Emma.
She might not be alive.
Yeah. That was great. That was fantastic. Okay, we're moving right along. Hey, this weekend, I think, is Halloweeny. So here we go. Edgar Allan, Linda Poe. All right, where am I at here? I wrote this a couple years ago. This is called Walking Through the Dark. Walking through darkened path, only moonlight's promise of slivers peeking in and out, of black grotesque shadows, seemingly trying to grab you with their distortions connected to old deformed trees. Witch's hair, green unruly moss, hangs above, dangling in confusion, as your eyesight slowly adjusts to the dark, but forgetting those same gnarled arms are grabbing and tripping while you carefully step through the path to nowhere. Falling amongst the dead crunch of autumn's last leaves, mouth tasting of decayed earth, hearing sounds of rustling and hideous laughter high in the waving trees. Furious flapping from all directions are announced, as if the devil himself rose from his deep sleep. They fly in surrounding formation while you cringe in fetal position, awaiting a slow death, afraid of your soul being ripped from your body. Once again, all is eerily silent, soul apparently still intact, crawling on all fours, finally able to stand, carefully stepping forward one step at a time, arms outstretched, seeking guidance, but from whom? Seeing a dim light in the not too far distance between the witch's shadows, blindly following your way to the lonely, darkened path once again. Numerous splashes of blood anoint torn clothes, fearing the scent of blood would announce a feast for the beasties of dark night. Pure fear encompasses the whole body, sweat slowly seeping onto your brow. Stumbling and following the light, soft laughter and chanting are heard as shadows are seen gathered around a blazing fire, arms outstretched, waving and dancing like a coven of witches on All Hallows Eve. Heart pounding, sweating profusely, knowing this must be the hour it all ends, but somehow courageously edging closer to the fire and noise, not making a sound except one decayed branch cracking underfoot like a scream in the night. All gathered around the roaring fire, look up from their barbecue feast in drunken stupor, yelling, "Hey, where the heck were you? The bathroom was right over there," as uproarious laughter rang loudly in my ears. We were camping and I got lost going to the bathroom. That's the story of my life. Okay, right now I am going to read from Mike Neville, who is a songwriter and a friend of his puts it to music. Mike, this is called Rescue Me. My body's breaking down. My mind is getting no sleep. I can be found somewhere wandering up and down the street. I look out these bloodshot eyes. It's so hard for me to see. My heart is broken. Nobody wants to dance. I take a walk downtown to find a quick romance. I can't see the sunshine in the blue sky. I can feel raindrops in my eyes. I can't find real love on a street corner. She just wants me to lay my money down. My heart is broken. I can feel it bleed. Dancing in the streets is what I need. I'm drowning in my sorrows. Can't you see? Somebody please come rescue me. I want to live a life with memories. I want to open my eyes. I need to see. I'm drowning in my sorrows. Can't you see? Somebody please come rescue me. I can't see the sunshine in the blue sky. I can feel raindrops in my eyes. Walking up and down a dark street, that's where I can be found. I can't find real love on a street corner. She just wants me to lay my money down. I'm drowning in my sorrows. Can't you see? Somebody please come rescue me. And that was by our own Mike Neville. I'm going to read another one of Mike's. This is called Imagine That. Ride with the moon goddess to the moon and back. Live your life with a pack on your back. Be happy with whatever you do. I'd be happy to do some traveling with you. Journey really slow down into a deep, dark hole. Where you are heading, I'm sure you don't know. Travel to Oz for tea with the wizard. Cut your locks off with a long pair of scissors. Dress yourself up and go to the city. Dress yourself down for the real nitty-gritty. If you let me love you to the moon and back, I'll love you forever. Imagine that. Dream about someone you haven't met. Ride like the wind into the evening sunset. Walk hand in hand with the cat in the hat. Tell me you can see the Cheshire cat. Imagine you love me for more than a day. Tell me what your heart has to say. Can you love me or can you not? Imagine we two tying the knot. Use your imagination throughout your day. They are your thoughts. Think them your way. If you let me love you to the moon and back, I'd love you forever. Imagine that. Oh, that was great. That was really nice. And now we have one from our own Scott Zirklebach. He is usually here, but I think he's been doing something for the last few weeks. This apparently is about autumn. Well-worn flannel, autumn pulls me close, though you have just begun to change me. Gilded, each day shows that the dying things are really life-sustaining. Autumn makes me pause, fills my senses with reverence for the assured finale. The leaves turn and fall like men that take no responsibility for bonfires burning out of control. Autumn lulls me along, roils me within morning fog. I warm my bones in well-worn flannel, finding myself tangled in a spider's web. These days quickly lose the light, but not the meaning. Autumn takes me home. Memories flood like apple cider, gone hard. I know it's coming. I can do nothing to stop it, so I fall too. Ooh, I love that. I really love that, Scott. That was really, really nice. And this one, The Vampire Next Door. I cannot sleep at night. I feel like I am a vampire. The sunlight is unbearable, scorching my eyes blind. I stumble through the dark, looking for a rested soul. Oh, evening shade, bring onto me a feathered pillow for my weary head. Release the stressors that course through the vein. I dance at midnight. I am dead to the world by noon. Moss hangs from limbs. I walk alone. I curse the sun, praise the moon. I'm no night owl. I'm a bird without a bed. And there it is in all its glory, the sunrise, the bane of my existence. That was really good, Scott. I really, really like that. And we have one from our own Steve Lind. This is called Eternal Theater of Recalibration. Somewhere along the road, there was a place of infinity that shone its radiant lens, beckoning like the road to forever, where every future blends into the haze of reality where gravity always sends each and every blazing meteor that eclectically curves and bends. The formulatic universe equation into a mystical, magical, magnetic sensation that electrifies every reverberation and showers the flowers of civilization. Eternal theater of recalibration where the hourglass meets the aurora of divinity and its mathematical reincarnation. That was good, Steve. Thank you so much. This is another one, Lost for Words from Steve Lind. What I see when I look at you is so hard to explain. It's like somewhere that we know is true, but we have never been. I struggle for the words, but they all come out so wrong. And in this world of change, you look like you are strong. My meaning has dimensions to which you must belong, but I am lost for words in the mystery of your song. The piper floats in picturesque raptures on the wind, and in your eyes the melody begins once again to take the shape of dreams that bend the human mind with visions of the treasure that we may one day find. Let's go back to Mary. Okay, Mary, are you still there? We can try to finish yours.
That was the end of mine. When I said Constitution rests, that was the end of that one.
Okay, that's fine. We'll get back to you then right before we're ready to end the show. All right?
Okay.
I am going to read another one from R.J. Malloy. This is called, and this is from his book, A Traveler's Journey. El Producto. Yesterday, I went back to my cigar box of memories. I went straight to my favorite, a short note, the pages yellow, and the ink faded of thoughts illegible anywhere. Lord, has it been that long? And somewhere in the box, in the lease to a house, long since decayed. But I can't find it, yet I know it's here somewhere. Lord, has it been that long? And there's a picture with a face, faded into grays and browns, with a tint of yellow, but I don't see it anywhere. Lord, has it been that long? And then there's the CTS ticket for the train to Lorraine, which is symbolic in itself. But of what, I've forgotten. Yet I know it's inside somewhere. Lord, has it been that long? And all those other treasures that I put into this El Producto box are gone and replaced by scraps of paper, meaningless, indifferent, dead. Lord, has it been that long? Oh, that was great. That was really, really good. All right, and we are getting back to our darling Emma. I have a few things for her. I don't know where I put them. This is called Waiting for the Play, and this is from her book, A Borrowed Moment. I'm sitting at Starbucks on the corner of Broad and Pine in Philadelphia in 2005. Over the speaker, Billie Holiday is singing the song Tenderly. I saw her in 1950 at a jazz club a block away on Broad Street. The song reminds of Ray N., a sailor I loved in 1950. I'm sitting in Starbucks on the corner of Broad and Pine, waiting to go to a theater a block away on Broad Street to see an Arthur Miller play that heralds my granddaughter, Amanda, as the stage manager. I've traveled many years to this moment in time. I ponder the past as I wait, sitting in the Starbucks on the corner of Broad and Pine, and I wonder if my failures outweigh my triumphs. I think a while about this and come to the realization that I might have changed some of the detours, but not the path that has led me here, sitting in Starbucks on the corner of Broad and Pine, waiting to go to the play.
Really
I've
good.
always really liked that one. I really have. All right, let me see what else we have here from Emma. All right, I am going to go to a book of hers, All That Is Familiar. This is called The Door Dreams. Blue door, white door, different houses, different doors. They must be locked over and over. I run frantically from door to door, pushing shut, holding closed, all my strength spent. Finally, secure in this house of many houses, I sigh with relief, then turning, I see the familiar figure sitting on the sofa. I scream, "How did you get through the locked doors?" I cry. "I never left," he replied. "You can't lock out what is already in." Oh, that was really good, Emma. That was really, really good. All right. Okay.
Did Mary say she had some?
She didn't have too much
Oh.
more. Okay, I am going to read one of my other spooky ones. We still have some time left. This is one of my favorites for Halloween. This is called Haunt the House on the Hill. The lonely house upon a hill looks barren, broken, forever still. It beckons forth to plead, persuade curious visitors who dare invade. Dilapidated boards dress up its steps, creaking, squeaking upon once they've crept. Beyond its door, musky smells surround the air, so silent and still. Cobwebs hang like enfingered claws, enveloping invaders with senses flawed. Windows broken with flies above, smears of blood hint of an entity's lust. Stench of fear permeates dank rooms, decaying remnants speak impending doom. Pictures old of long ago tell stories lived, its inhabitants' woe. Long stairway up which never ends, give pause to the curious to comprehend. Do they ascend or do they remain? Hairs on the neck warm imminent pain. What lies above in those haunted rooms, as doubt remains, grotesque shadows loom. Snickers abound from embodied voices. Up the staircase, soft singing rejoices. Climbing the darkness while the brain screams no, judgment impaired towards a soft hazed glow. Giggling be heard from this house on the hill, where the curious be embedded, forever silent and still.
Mm.
Ooh, woo, 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 woo.
Woo, woo, woo.
Did you have anything, Linda?
Would you read one for me?
Yes.
Would you read the blurb on the back of my second book, please?
The Palace Buzz.
Yeah, with Gracie and Gibson.
The Palace Buzz. Okay. Here she goes again. Gracie, a dwarf kangaroo from the 36th universe, is skipping across the cosmos to her dream destination, St. Petersburg, Russia. She's traveling with Gibson, a Maine coon cat whose life she saved when he was unceremoniously dumped in front of a Pennsylvania cornfield. Expectations and reality quickly collide. What she expected to find was a city of wintry white nights, a city dotted with 100 islands, linked by dozens of imposing bridges, all bookended by majestic sculptures cast in bronze. She expected to feast her eyes on historic buildings splashed with pink, yellow, and blue pastels. Instead, she finds herself back in the 18th century in Russia's imperial golden age. This is not the city I expected, she laments as she stands bewildered near the entrance to the city's center activity, the perpetuously busy post office. Then, when Empress Catherine arrives in her royal carriage and points a bejeweled finger at the ever so handsome Gimson and declares, I want that cat, the fun begins. This is Linda's book, The Palace Buzz. And I think we have another couple of minutes here. Mary, do you have anything to say?
I have like 4.5 minute essay if you got 4.5 minutes, but if that's
no, we didn't. I don't think so. No, we get done at like 11:56. But just like to something like for another minute or something.
Sure, I can start the Romeo and Juliet song, and then maybe finish it up the next time I'm on.
Right, and I'll let you know when the time is coming here.
Yes, just gong me whenever.
Yeah. Bing.
There's a guilty pleasure I just have to confess and then explain. Not that there isn't already a list. Belgian chocolates, high heels, coastal Georgia, guys in uniform, the movie Gladiator, tropical drinks with little paper umbrellas, down pillows and flannel sheets. But this is a chapter and a phenomenon all its own. I'm a grown woman over 40, and I like the Taylor Swift song Love Story. There, I said it out loud. You know the song. There was a time you couldn't possibly escape it on the radio. It's the one where she's Juliet and he's Romeo, and it's got pre-feminist to the point of Neanderthal lyrics like, Romeo, save me. Good God, I thought the first dozen times I heard it, or heard enough of it to wince and change the channel. How utterly dopey, how ridiculous, how unreal, and how god-awfully uncomplicated and fairy tale and unconnected to the realities of love and relationships. And for heaven's okay, there you go.
But that sounds really interesting. We would love to hear that again. We really would.
Start from the beginning.
Yeah, and then you can start from the beginning.
All
but
right.
anyway, yeah, we hope you've enjoyed today's show. Thank you, Marie LaBrosse, for being our wonderful technician who was behind a computer screen for making all of our sessions run smoothly. A special thank you to our station manager, RJ Malloy, for giving us this wonderful opportunity. I want to thank Mary Wagner for coming again. You're absolutely wonderful. A great, great thank you to Lind Schell, as she is our marketing director, and she does all the paperwork for us, and nothing would run smoothly without her being there. I am Linda Wright, and from me and Lind Schell, we wish you a wonderful, wonderful week and a happy Halloween. Woo! Spooky delicious. Woo! Thank you.